Welcome to a new video. Let's take a look at some new malicious compliance stories. The first story is called, Using a Timer to Log My Work Time. This happened a while ago, and I've since moved jobs. Basically, every employee in my department was supposed to log their work hours and the project they were working on. When I first joined the company, I noticed that there was an inbuilt timer in the software which you can start and stop to get accurate logs. But I asked my bosses and other employees around, and everyone told me that no one uses it, and everyone fills in the log first thing in the morning the next day. I was cool with that. So I started logging my time just like everyone else. Things were fine for quite a while, till I started putting in more and more hours to get work done. Until one fateful day, where I get called by management. They tell me that my logging seems dishonest and deliberately misleading. I got told off saying they rely on these numbers to plan deadlines for the future and that I'm cheating the company. They instructed me to only use the timer from the next day on, and nothing else. I should probably mention that the way I logged time till then was rounded down to 30-minute increments, just out of personal preference. For example, if a meeting lasted 45 minutes, I'd more often than not logged 30 minutes. On top of that, I used to remove an hour off the top just as an eyeball figure for lunch and smoke breaks, because on average that's how long it took. And I should add that everyone, including my bosses, used to log time similarly. The company had trusted us to not be dishonest with it, and generally, it worked out fine. Anyway, that day on, I started using the timer for everything. 10-minute briefing? Going into the log. 5-minute company call? Logged. Started eating in 15 minutes instead of 30, cut down smoke breaks from 2 to 1, etc. Basically, I made sure almost every minute between my in and out times would be accounted for. They also maintained a timestamp of all the times someone enters and exits the office, which they combined with the log to check. I made sure I was not being dishonest in any way and just logging my actual work times. As you can guess, all the 11-hour overtime days piled up pretty quick, and at the end of the month, I got called by management again. My boss and his boss were both there. My boss was furious, demanding to know how my overtime hours had nearly doubled from previous months. I just said I don't know, I'm using the timer just like I was instructed to. I told them to go through my in and out times, my breaks, my deliverables, and when the timer was started and stopped to check if I was being dishonest or not. They sent me away after yelling at me a bit more, threatening termination if I was wrong. The next day, my boss told me to stop using the timer again and apologized for calling me dishonest. I stopped using it, but I told him that now I knew more accurately how long my stuff takes, so I'll be logging accordingly even if I do so manually. The next story is called, And This Is Why I Love My Boss. I work at a small mum-and-pop pizza place in a small town. We're the only not gas station pizza place in town. Friday nights get busy. So my boss is cooking and I'm waitressing. The cook cooks and the waitress does everything else. It would be nice to have two of us, but we manage and the people of our town expect it and respect it after all these years. It's busy, I've got several tables and the phone has been ringing off the hook with to-go orders. I've got piles of dishes, someone is constantly at the register and food is constantly ready to go out. My customers are being great. Everyone is smiling and laughing and not worried that things are taking a bit longer than a Tuesday night. I was busy but not stressed yet. Then we get a call from some guy from out of town. There was a high school game, so we had a few out-of-towners that night. He orders a large thin crust pizza with pepperoni, nothing special. And he wants it well done, no problem at all. He wants us to put it in the oven for an extra 5 minutes, so I say okay with zero intention of doing that. We have a brick oven. Our thin crust pizzas go in the oven for 4 minutes, 4.5 for well done, in total. This guy wants 5 extra minutes on top of that. He wants a 16-inch charcoal hockey puck. I assume he thinks he knows what he's talking about and just put on the ticket, well done. We do our thing and his pizza looks beautiful. He comes to pick it up and before paying, he opens the box to inspect his pizza. This is normal and I'm not worried. I asked for my pizza well done. This is how we make our pizzas well done. Any more than this and your pizza will burn. I am not paying for this, I'm not eating this, I want a new one and I want it how I ordered. Put it in for 5 more minutes. At this point, my boss taps me on the shoulder and tells me to take over the cooking while he handles the customer. Our kitchen is behind the register counter. I'm literally making pizza 5 feet away from the interaction, so I get to hear the whole thing. My boss tries to tell the guy how long we usually cook the pizzas, what's going to happen to his pizza, etc. But the customer is having none of it. He wants this pizza cooked the normal time plus an additional 5 minutes. After a few minutes, I can tell my boss has had enough of this guy. Sure, you don't just want this pizza? He means the one we had already made. The guy says no, so my boss brings it out to one of our regulars and lets him have it. He comes back to the guy and informs him that, if he wants his cooked for 9 minutes he needs to pay first. The guy seems satisfied and pays. I hop back to waitressing and the boss takes over the cooking and making this guy his pizza. It goes in the oven looking beautiful. The boss sets the timer for 9 minutes and makes sure to show the guy the timer. He just smiles and chuckles a little. I'm bussing tables and checking people out and answering the phone while we wait on this guy's pizza. The timer goes off for his pizza and the guy comes closer to the counter. It's my job to cut the pizza as soon as the boss puts it in the box. He lifts this solid black, hard charcoal hockey puck out of the oven and sets it in the box. You can barely tell it's a pizza anymore. I attempt to cut it, but it is so overcooked that it more or less just cracks and crumbles. My back is to him, so I can't see his face, but I can imagine. I close the box, turn and hand it to him with a smile on my face. "Enjoy your pizza, sir." The guy says, "I can't eat that." My boss says, "We made your pizza to order. If you want a new pizza, you'll need to order a new one and pay for that." The guy has this completely broken look on his face. I was actually almost looking forward to a blow-up, but the guy left his pizza on the counter and left. This is why I love my boss. The third story is called, "You Leave Too Early." I was a system administrator for a big 3-letter telecom company in one smaller department. There were 2 admins, me and Jay. Jay was awesome. Super intelligent, very friendly, and was great at his job. He and I decided that I would come in early and he would stay late, so there was more coverage during the day. It worked great for both of us for a few years. I would get to work around 6:30. I would review all the systems, generated reports overnight, check the health of the servers and database, and then generate the daily reports for various managers throughout the company, including my own manager and his boss. After 9 hours plus 1 for lunch, I would go home around 4:30 every day. Jay would show up around 10:30 and would usually be the last person to leave around 7. My old boss left and my new boss, Tom, was a major idiot and a huge jerk. He knew nothing about IT and should have never been put in charge of people. After about 6 months of Tom working there, he brought me into his office. He said that he was very concerned about how I would just up and leave each day at 4:30, so consistent that you could set your watch by it. I tried to explain that I'm there at 6:30, 3 hours before he showed up and 4 hours before Jay showed up. But Tom was having none of that. I was leaving way too early. I asked him what my hours should be. He said I should be more like Jay. He said, "Jay is usually here long after everyone else leaves." Once again, I tried to point out that Jay gets there 4 hours after me and leaves by 7, an 8.5-hour day with an hour lunch, where I get there at 6:30 and leave at 4:30, a 10-hour day with an hour lunch. Tom just couldn't comprehend that. So, I complied. I told him that I would be the last one to leave from now on. This made him happy. So, I came to work at about 10:15 the next morning, which was a Friday. I started my normal routine and about 10 minutes later, Jay came in. We worked the day and the last person, with the exception of Jay and me, left around 6:30. We both left at 6:45 and I made sure that Jay left the building before me. The following Monday, I once again showed up at 10:15. This time, there were about a dozen emails and a few voicemails from managers and executives all over the company wanting to know why they haven't received their daily reports. These reports were used in various Monday morning meetings all over the globe. I explained to them that my hours have changed, and they would be getting their daily reports by 1. One of those executives was my boss's boss. Before the end of the day, I was in her office with Tom and Tom's boss. I explained to her the same situation that I had explained to Tom before this all started. She immediately told Tom that the work I did between 6:30 and 10:30 was mission critical to the entire company and I was to immediately go back to my old schedule. I then sheepishly pointed out that 6:30 to 4:30 was 9-hour workdays and Jay's from 10:30 to 7 was 7.5-hour workdays. I said I would be happy to go back to a 6:30 start time, but was going to limit my hours to 8-hour days, since I didn't get overtime. So, starting the next day and every day after, I showed up at 6:30, did my work, and smiled and waved at Tom when I went home at 3:30 later that afternoon, so consistent, you could set your watch by it. The last story is called, 1 minute late is late. So I had some attendance issues at an old job. Not really, the policy was that within 5 minutes of the shift is still considered on time. Well, I had a manager who wanted to abruptly change corporate policy and define clearly that late is late. So background, it's retail and I'm in my senior year of college. I'm not making a career out of this job, and I'm 5 years older than all of my co-workers. My immediate manager felt threatened by me, as I had previously declined leadership positions to finish school. He always had something he needed to fix about me, even though I had 7 straight months of rockstar performance by exceeding metrics by 10% above the goal, and I frequently aided in training new employees. Once again, this was a college filler, not a career move for me. I'm not a bad employee. However, I was a busy employee. During my last semester working there, I had 5 classes and would be usually within a minute or two to my shift. So the manager one day specifies I'm late as it's 3:01 and my shift starts at 3 o'clock, to which I said marginally. He, in front of other co-workers, decides he's going to put his foot down. No, 1 minute late is too late. So I stopped my task and calmly asked him, then what does it mean when I'm staying 45 minutes after my shift to help when we're short-staffed? And he said, we don't even want to have this conversation right now, and left. To be fair, he's not wrong, he handled the situation wrong. If he wanted me to change something, we could have talked in private. He wanted to start this in front of the new hires. So I complied. I made it a point to clock in and out exactly when my shift starts and ends. It's glorious. A couple of weeks later he tells me I need to do something 2 minutes before my shift ends. So I start the task, and 2 minutes later I said, sorry manager, my shift is over. And with that, I clocked out and left. My mindset is, go ahead, try to fire the best looking employee on paper for working exactly his shift and not a second longer. But I think he does not want to have this conversation. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider subscribing to the channel for more content. Let me know what you think about the stories in the comment section below. Have a great day. Bye bye.